Hey guys, welcome back to the Salt Lake City Crusaders channel. I'll be your host today. My name is Austin. We have with us today our chapter president, Philip.
Hey, yeah, my name is Philip Millard, and I'm the chapter president of Salt Lake City Crusaders. Super excited to be with you guys here today. So you actually probably haven't seen me before, but you've definitely heard me. I was on the first video making comments in the background as I was the one manning the camera.
Yep, and it's important that we have him here today because the content that we're going to be going over largely will involve your chapter president or somebody in your area leadership, because we're going to be talking about armor, the thing that pretty much everyone loves the most out of the sport, or at least a very close second to actually hitting people in the face with axes. There's so much to talk about armor. We could talk about the history, we can talk about the metallurgy, we can talk about honestly a million different things. We're going to try to focus it just onto 3 different topics today, which will include style, cost, and fighting style as main ways in which you will be able to categorize what armor would fit you best.
Okay, so one of the biggest questions that I get as chapter president from new people is where and what type of armor should I get, right? What time frame, what region should I get? What armor would be best for me? So that's the main question that we're going to try to address today, so that we can help these new guys really understand what armor would be most beneficial for them.
Yeah, so the first, we're going to kind of go in ascending order of least to most exciting here. So the first being cost. It's an obvious thing that something like what you see in front of you is not going to be a couple of dollars. It's going to have a greater cost than that. But a lot of that cost will be very much dictated on the time period and the country in which you're getting your armor from.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're getting your armor, if cost is a big inhibitor, as it was for me, you want to look around the 14th century, which means 1300s, right? So like 1301 to 1399. 14th century is going to give you the best bang for your buck. You're going to get the best protection, but at the same time, it's going to be lower in cost. Another way that you can lower your cost, if that's a big inhibitor, is buying used. The only problem with that is finding the availability might be difficult, especially because you want to make sure the armor fits you and also fits your fighting style, right? So we're going to put some links down below of different Facebook pages where you can buy used armor. But again, always talk with your chapter president before purchasing armor to make sure that it's going to be legal and to make sure that you're not going to get swindled or, whatever, just buy bad armor.
Yeah, there's a lot of different leagues that you could be buying armor in, and on those pages, a lot of those times the different leagues will be mixed. They'll be selling for things for the ACW, HMB, international leagues, and other places, and they have different rules. So it's really important to be able to get those specifications on top of knowing what century you're getting in, what country you're getting in, what price you're getting into.
Yeah, in fact, we just recently had a guy spend $800 on a helmet and then realized that it wasn't going to be legal. So again, make sure you're talking to your chapter president so he can help you make sure that it's legal and it's going to fit you right.
Yeah. So let's talk about that actual cost, because I know that everybody does want to hear at least some hard numbers before they're getting into things. So Philip, I know that we vaguely mentioned this before in one of our other videos, but if this is somebody's first time coming in, what numbers are we talking about to get ourselves, let's say head to toe. We're not just talking one part. Let's say head to toe. If I find someone who's saying, hey, I'm selling my old 14th century set and it is Central European, what type of prices could I be looking at?
Yeah, head to toe, including like a gambeson and gauntlets and maybe even a weapon or something. If you're getting it used, it'll probably be around $2,000 to $2,500. For an entire set. If you're buying it brand new, but it's probably going to be manufactured, meaning that it's just cut of the mill, not necessarily made to your measurements, it'll be probably around $3,000 to $3,500.
Yeah, and that price can definitely sound like a little bit, but could you maybe tell me how long a set like that might last me? Am I talking like, oh, I'm going to be able to use this set for the next year or two?
Yeah, so these arms right here, my arms, I bought used. I think they've been in use for about 13 years.
13 years?
Yeah. So these
Even
went to,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the United States, the first time that they went to Worlds, and I think it was in 2008 or 2017, somewhere around there. These arms went to that competition.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard. He said the first time they went to Worlds.
Yeah.
So we're talking that once you spend that money, it's not something that you're going to have to be recurring spending all these hundreds or thousands of dollars.
Not if you buy good quality. And again, talk with your chapter president to help, and he'll help you make sure that it's good quality.
Yeah. So we hope that first fact there is able to really help you guys to understand a little bit. So let's move on to the next part. A lot more exciting for a lot of people. Style.
Yeah, so there's lots of different styles, right? You can, and regions, which kind of goes along with the style, right? You can get like an Eastern kit, Eastern Russian, Italian, English, right? Those are all different styles. But the main thing most people look at is the helmet, right? This helmet is going to determine a lot of different things on your armor. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to pick one thing first, pick the style of helmet, because then everything else kind of falls after that, because your helmet is going to be restricted to a region. It's also going to be restricted to a time frame. So pick that first, and then everything else, that'll help you kind of get a starting point to then pick, okay, well, do I want a Corazina? Does that actually even fit with my set? Or do I want an entire breastplate, right? Does that fit with my helmet? The helmet's going to dictate that.
Gotcha. So just if I'm understanding what you're saying is, when you pick a particular set of armor, it has to come from the same general geographic region. And then what are the time period restrictions? I'm assuming you can't wear something from like the 800 ADs and something from the 1600s, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. So it depends on the league, and every league has different rules, and those rules change over time, right? But normally they give you a 50-year time frame. So you pick a date, like for example, mine is 1475, and you got 25 years before that and 25 years after that in that region to kind of find your armor and have your documentation to make sure that that actually was historical.
All right. Well, it's definitely very good information, because you know, if I'm saying, oh, I really love a Roman leather skirt, but I also think that a Viking winged helmet or something looks cool, that's a no-go, right?
Yeah, no, definitely not. Nothing, not at all.
All right. So we're going to be moving on to our last topic for the night, which is fighting style and position on the field. So fighting style and position on the field is something that if you've only been watching videos online or have only talked about it maybe with a friend but haven't actually seen or experienced it yourself, may be a little bit confusing. There's a lot of times that you'll see in video highlights of individual hits, individual moves, and you may not know that there's actually quite a bit of teamwork going on.
Yeah, most definitely. And each team is a little bit different. Each position is a little bit different, right? And those are constantly morphing. We'll talk a lot more about positions and things like that in the future. But your fighting style is going to determine what type of armor you want. And so as a result, one thing that I recommend that we didn't mention already that we probably should have is try on armor. Right? Find somebody who has some armor, try it on, and see what you like. And then, maybe take some swings at it and things like that. That's really going to dictate, obviously, what type of armor you buy. So try that armor on and see how you fight. Maybe the person who obviously has armor, has more experience than you, he's going to be able to help you say, oh, you know what, you're going to be more of like a flanker type position, or maybe you're going to be more like a tank. He'll help you figure out what type of position you're going to be, right? And then what happens is that armor will then your position will then dictate what type of armor you have. So for example, like my Corazina here, it has a lot of smaller plates that allows for a lot of mobility.
Yep.
Allows me to move fast, allows me to kind of, do jukes and, move around. Whereas something that's more tanky isn't going to be as flexible, but it's going to be able to take hits. You're going to be able to take way more harder hits that way. Austin's is a lot more tanky.
Yep. Yeah, it's very common for people when they first come into the sport that you're going to have certain types of inhibitions. You're going to be, once you get into armor, your body's going to start reacting in a very natural way. If you played certain sports for a lot of years, you're going to kind of favor a lot of the moves from that. Somebody who played football may kind of go for a headlong tackle. Somebody who played or participated in other combat sports such as MMA, judo, other things, they're just going to have a lot of body movements that are more natural for them. And even though you might say in your head, oh, I just want to just run at people with a big axe, or I want to carry this huge shield and block everything, your body's going to have these natural things that is going to fit who you are, and it's going to feel a lot more natural once you actually get into it. So it's really important that you follow this bit of advice to try on as many bits of armor and to actually fight in them as much as is reasonable for you. You know, you may live in Montana and you may not have the ability to do that. So
that's right. And in that case, then you just got to do the best you can. Again, talk with experts, those who know the sport well. Maybe you don't have a chapter president because you're in Montana and you are the chapter president. You just started your own chapter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be in Montana, like we were saying, and that can be a problem for anyone. But for example, let's talk a little bit about our fighting styles and how they match with the armor that we have, just briefly. So as Philip did mention, for me, my armor is very tanky, as you would put it, or in other words, it absorbs a lot of damage. I have been hit very hard by very strong individuals who have a lot of experience, and I have yet to sustain a real injury in this sport. And it wasn't because they didn't have opportunity, it's because of the type of armor that I'm wearing. So my fighting style and my position on the field lends me, I played a lot of football, I played lacrosse, I was very used to getting up close and personal with people and having people who are larger than me, so I started using close-up, one-handed weapons on both sides because I liked having two of my hands free instead of being locked up with a two-handed weapon, and I found that punching and grappling was very, very normal for me. I was a lineman for a lot of years when I did football when I was younger, and being able to grab and manipulate people lended very well to that. So while I have a ton of protection here and here to make sure that I don't take hits to the center, as well as a very thick helmet, I actually have some very, very thin arm armor that allows my arms to move very quickly and rapidly without having much weighing them down. But that can also lead to taking some more serious arm hits if you're not careful.
Yeah, and just having worked and fought with Austin before, right? Oftentimes he's kind of more tanky. He'll have like 3 or 4 guys hitting him with pole arms, right? But because you can see the space between, or not the space, but the thickness, the width of the plates on his armor, he can take those hits and it doesn't bug him as much. Whereas me, I'm more of a striker type flanker position. I'm moving around the field a lot more with an axe, and I'm trying to take in opportunist hits. He'll tie somebody up, maybe grab him, turn him just perfect so I can go hit him with the axe, and then I'll run off and go hit somebody else, right? So I've got, my plates are a lot smaller. You can see the difference between the thickness. And in the back, you can't really see it, but again, the plates are a lot smaller as well compared to his, which allow me to move around a lot more. But if I take a hit to the back, I'm not going to be able to take near as many as Austin before I go down.
Yep. So, in conclusion, there is, just so many different parts of the armor that are important for you to understand. We've talked about talking to your chapter president. We've talked about considering the cost in relation to geographic area and time period. And we've also talked about what your fighting style, the way that you move as a human being on the field, will dictate in what type of things you buy. We will certainly go more in depth into these various topics in other videos, but we hope that this has been helpful to you guys. If there's anything that you want us to specifically go more in depth in, please leave some comments below. We really love hearing from everyone, and we really want these videos to be genuinely helpful.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So, you guys have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
All right, guys, we forgot to say like and subscribe. Hit the buttons.
So punch that notification.
Oh.
Yeah.